Thank you everyone for being here. I am Marta Citriniti, the chair of this round, and I ask the other judges to present themselves, please.
Hi, I'm Giovanna Falcone, panelist in this debate.
Hi everyone, I am Raffaella Ferraioli, judge in this debate.
Okay, so I ask the proposition team to say their names.
I'm Domitilla Gonnelli, the first speaker of the proposition team. Amo il microfono acceso.
I'm Chiara Marinari, and I'm the second team speaker of the proposition team.
I'm Theodore Max Crivina, and I'm the third speaker of the proposition team.
And I will be doing the replica.
Okay, so I will ask to the opposition team to present themselves.
I'm the first speaker of the opposition team, and I'm Lucia Santoriello.
LAZ Majo, and I'm the second speaker of the opposition team.
Francesco Carcerati, third the opposition.
And again, the LAZ Majo, the reply speech.
So thank you everybody. I'll read the motion which says, this house regrets the internet. So I please ask the first speaker of the proposition team to start their speech.
So my speech will start in 3, 2, 1. Okay, good evening, judges, fellow debaters, and spectators. Tonight we will be discussing the motion, this house regrets the internet. So first of all, as our team, we would like to start by the definition of the internet. So the internet is a global computer network providing a variety of information and communication consisting of different websites and algorithms. First of all, I would like to state the 3 theses that we found in this hour. First of all, the first thesis is information. So information is, we know that basic information is accessible on the internet, is accessible to everyone, but the information that we find is majority of the time false. The second thesis is that communication. So communication through the internet can be, we know, very useful, but we also know that it will never be as powerful as communication in person. And the last thesis, so the third, is that the internet isn't safe and it is a breeding ground for pedophiles, scammers, and blackmailers. Now, I would like to start by talking about the first thesis, so information. So first of all, as I said before, we know that information is more accessible than before. We have ways of finding information that are way easy. Just by going on our phones or going on our computers, we have the opportunity to find every information that we know. But the problem of this is that the quick finding of information makes most of the time the information that we find false. We know this because now most of the time the information that we find is summed up by AI, which sums all the different solutions to a problem into one, which also makes it correct or imprecise. At the time before the internet was invented, people used to look for things with more dedication, going through libraries and looking through encyclopedias, and had to work hard to find a specific solution. Now everything is accessible, which brings a general laziness to everyone, because we know that information that we find is accessible, and so we do not need to actually do a serious research to find a definite information. So we are just the internet made us lazy and just made the fact that we find information without effort. And so there's no real research of sources anymore, and there is a general discouragement in a search of a specific topic. We also know that we don't actually need we actually didn't need the internet before to actually find and discover things, even scientific purposes. For example, we know that Einstein, which discovered the theory of relativity, didn't need the internet as many scientists did before him. So we actually know that the internet isn't even needed when we need to discover things. Of course, it can help us now because everything is over in the internet. So it's the accessible, but it doesn't search if we actually want to discover something. So we actually know that the fact that this information is so easily accessible and easily found, it's actually something which doesn't help us at all in life, because as we now know, the younger generation are accused of a general laziness. And this is brought by the fact that the internet is so easy to access and even so difficult to find what are actually the true information. And even because we as young people are not usually taught what are the true information and the false information, and are not easily, we don't actually know most of the time how to distinguish what the true informations are. So that's the problem of the internet. That's one of the main problems of the internet, the fact that most of information are false. And even now, for example, us being, for example, people who maybe know how to distinguish informations, we still don't know which are true and which are false. I would like to add also that, for example, for the use of AI, we must be very careful, because now, as I said before, when we search, for example, on a page, and the first thing that comes up is now that AI sums up every information that we have and that we find in the internet, makes us even more lazy and even discourages us to search everything else, because AI does it for us, which is something that is, from our team's point of view, great danger to the younger generations, which are not used to actually do research and in depth and profound to actually find out. At the time, we know that the people used to go in libraries, they used to go in encyclopedias, which was accessible to everyone. And so it made education something that you had to work for. Even now, the information is free on the internet, which makes it less accessible and even less useful. We also know that these effects have brought the fact to us that we are so caught up in the fact that we have all these informations coming at us, even on our phones, but we can see it even on the news or on social media, and we do not know anymore. We do not know how to distinguish which are the true and which are the false informations, which usually brings a general not knowing. And we have all these little informations that come to us, and we actually think that knowledge comes from knowing little things, but that does not actually make us knowledgeable. It just makes us know things that aren't actually useful. And just knowing particulars to the things doesn't make us actually know what the whole concept of things are. For example, if I search on the internet and I look if, I don't know, I search, it's accessible for me to see in what year the landing on the moon was made. And the first information that comes up is, okay, that's the date of when they landed the moon. But that does not actually make us know what actually happened that day, how it worked, because AI only gives the general information. It does not specify, it does not give the sources, and it does not help us understand how that happened, what the process of that was, how it worked, and how actually the people got there. And especially, it does not give us a scientific process which comes to that. And to do that, we need sources. So, no, I don't accept that. And the time is over, sorry, so it's 1 minute. So I would like to conclude by saying that we know that the internet isn't actually, we regret it for this, and we actually know that it isn't actually necessary to find this type of information, because yes, we know that it helped us in finding this information. It helped us that we can have information very quickly, but most of the time the information that we find are false. And we know that as human beings, as scientists before us, that knowledge is findable not through the internet, but through our own brain and our own capacity. Thank you.
Seven minutes and 42 seconds. So I thank you, Domitilla, for her nice speech. If the judges are ready, I will give the speech to the first speaker. Are you ready, judges?
Yes.
Oh,
Okay for me.
Okay, so Lucia, you can go.
Okay. I will start in 3, 2, 1. Dear panel, let's start with the rebuttal of what the proposition team has just said. Let's start with saying how they define most of the information you find on the internet. They said that they are fake, but they didn't explain us why. And most important of all, they talked about how the AI is not a relatable source, but AI came into the frame of the internet relatively late, in uh, in modern days. So all of the knowledge, all of the internet um, knowledge, all of the knowledge that's on the internet is actually from verified sources. For example, if you do a research on Google, the first results that they will give you will be from certified sources with true facts and true explanation. You talked about the landing on the moon, for example. If you look for the date of the arrival on the moon, it's obvious that you won't be knowing why or the background story, because you have to no, thank you. You have to ask specific things, because you still have to do a research. You talked about the encyclopedias and why internet has brought laziness into our society. But why would we complicate something that we studied and we fought to achieve? Um, Doing research still requires some skills. You have to know which information are true or false, for example, but you still have to do your research. So it's only a more accessible way to know other things. So dear panel, would you really want to live in the world that the proposition team has described as a world where information are not accessible to all, where connection are difficult, where economic opportunities are fewer, in which sharing culture and discoveries it's not possible? What impact does it have on our society? One second. It's a world without internet is a world where everything is more difficult, where life is more difficult. The simplest task, as um, searching, looking for a recipe, would require going to a library, buying a book, and longer a longer process. Yes.
But my question is, weren't books accessible even before the use of the internet? Like, knowledge was accessible to everyone even before. It's a
Books
question.
were accessed. Yes, thank you. Books were accessible if you're born in a city that has a big library, that has big resources. If you're in a wealthy city, in a wealthy country. If we think about poor countries or big cities where there's overpopulation or a lot of problems for getting to other places that are not means of transportation, how can you get to a library? How can you study from a book? How can you can get to the book? So it's they were still so it's still a problem. Internet has solved this problem. So that leads us to the first argument of our line, which is the damage of information that that the regret of internet would bring to our society. So there are two levels of this topic, which are education and information. News are controlled. Who can control television or radios can control what we can or we cannot know. Television and radios are the means with which we could be informed before the internet. So they were controlled, and since they were controlled, we wouldn't be able to actually know what was going on in no thank you in other parts of the world. Let's think about in war zones. Let's think about the Gaza genocide. Through internet, through Telegram, we um, we were able to discover how all of the awful things that were happening there, and while in TVs or in the radios, it wasn't even talked about. So the absence of internet would create a weaker society without knowledge, and a society we can generally be easily manipulated, since you cannot listen to different point of views, but you have to follow only what the state or what your country can give to you. um, let's talk then about education. Internet plays a crucial role in keeping us informed and in educating us. Everything can be found on internet with an easy and short research. So that means that education is now free and accessible for all. Everyone can learn, everyone can expand their knowledge, learn a new language, acquire new skills. From the students who need a further explanation on some topics that he saw in school, to the person who needs a recipe, as I was saying before. So it generally brings a more internet guarantee and equal access to information and education to all, and that's why it's so important. Um, since we value a society that has to flourish, a society that has to be informed, that has to be participating in what's happening over the world, it's important to consider internet as a crucial part of our society. And so internet, we do not regret internet, since without internet we wouldn't have the information we're able to have now. We wouldn't there wouldn't be the economic empowerment that the internet has brought, and it would and the scientific progress that it has brought over the years. Thank you.
7 minutes and 32 seconds. Are the judges ready?
I'm ready.
So my speech will start in 3, 2, 1. Okay. So judges, fellow debaters, I'm the second speaker of the proposition team, and my role will be the one of explaining our second two theses. So I will talk about communication and safety. So first of all, I would like to start talking about what the contrary team said. So first of all, you said something about our first debater's speech. So why is information on the internet, why do we think that information on the internet is fake? So I think we all know that everyone can put stuff onto the web. So when you look up something on Google, the first website that comes up isn't necessarily a true resource. You can simply pay Google to pop up as the first website, and you could very well be writing fake things on that website. Wikipedia is not a relatable source of information, and it's still the most popular website that people visit to research something. Then you said something about that AI is a modern tool. So yes, we know that, but it's still internet. We regret the internet for what it is today, for everything it has brought, but the evolution of the internet has brought us to artificial intelligence. So it's really important to talk about it, because that is the most recent impact that internet had on our lives. And the last thing I would like to say about your speech would be on education. So when we say we regret internet, we are regretting internet in a society where education is obligatory and enforced like in a modern society. I don't know if you know something about a family that lived in the woods with their children. They led a completely healthy lifestyle. This happened 2 days ago, and social services took away their children because they said that they didn't get the education they deserved. We're not talking about people who live in the countryside and don't send their children to school because they need to work for them. We live in a different society. Things are enforced. If someone doesn't want to send their children to school, even if they're poor, even if they're in a different economical situation, the government will do something about that. And this will happen even without internet. So let's start with our theses. So first of all, communication. We all know that the internet has helped young people to communicate with each other. It's much easier to talk with a friend. It's much easier to meet new people. But is communicating through a screen really communication? I know that sometimes it can be nice to talk to a friend on the phone, and that isn't internet. Because let's all remember that calling someone is not considered part of the internet. It's not personal data, it's not Wi-Fi. That's nice. Sending a message to someone can be nice, but it's much more common to have children, young adults living only through their screens. This could not happen 50 years ago, 100 years ago. There were some cases in which this happened, but right now the phenomenon is much more common, and it is really dangerous. If a 11-year-old starts cultivating his social interactions exclusively through the internet, he will not grow into a socially functioning adult. So second argumentation that I would after like to connect to our to my first.
Yeah.
Go on. Yes, I accept.
Are you aware that even if the internet is still a thing, people and children still lives and grow with other children? They are not enforced to be only in the internet. In school, they're talking.
But not in all cases. So I know that I said this. I just said this. 100 years ago, there could be a child on 100 children or 1,000 children who did not leave their home, who didn't have friends, who wasn't interested in socially interacting with someone face to face. Right now, this phenomenon is much more common. I don't know the data because I don't know it, but I know that there are so many people who will not go outside of their houses because their friends are all online, because this is a possibility. If this wasn't a possibility, we would not have this problem. And you cannot tell me you don't know at least one person who has only internet-based relationships. And I think this is really dangerous to the development of our society, of our future generation. So I was going to talk about safety. So the internet is not a safe place. The internet is actually the most dangerous place on which you can put your personal information. We said it in our first debater said this. The internet is a breeding ground for pedophiles, scammers, and blackmailers. We all know about deepfakes. Deepfake is a way of creating an image with your voice or your face, saying things you should not say, or copied onto pornographic materials, and this is going to be used to blackmail you. This means that scamming someone will be much easier. People are at a much higher risk of finding themselves in these types of situations. Yes, I know you can say yes, but with the advancement of technology, our lives are much more secure. But technology is not internet. I know it. You can think this, but when we think about internet, we have to think about our computer, our cell phone, of when we put something on the internet, we're posting a photo on social media, we're tweeting something, we're writing a text and giving out to the whole world. But that text, that picture will exist, survive for the rest of our lives and further on. We all know about presidents, politicians whose role was jeopardized because of something they put on the internet 30 or more years ago. When the internet did not exist, you shared your thoughts with a friend through letters, communicating. If you fight with someone you thought was a friend, that person can take a picture of you, take a compromising message, and send it to everyone. When communication was face to face, this could not happen because, yes, we know that internet has a lot of positive things. It has our lives became much more tranquil, but it has so many dark sides and so many negative aspects that we honestly think that our lives, our society would be much better on without the existence of the internet. My speech is finished. Thank you.
So thank you, Chiara, for your nice speech. If the judges are ready, I'll leave the table for the... Okay. So, second speaker of the up team, you can go.
So, dear panels, let's first start with the rebuttal, and I'm going to show you why the proposition team is deeply wrong. So, first of all, they said that if I search something on the internet, the first research that I find is fake in every case. It's obvious, it's still obvious that I still need to do researches to avoid fake news. Has the same way I used to do 50 years ago when I would have gone in a library and find a book. And this I will obviously have to find if it was well written, who written, and all these things. So it's obvious that I still have to clarify what are important website where I can have when I can't find fake news. Secondly, the second speaker said that people who choose to not educate their children are excluded from the society. But we are speaking about all people who do not have the tools to access to information and education. No, thank you. Not to those people who choose to not educate their children, as you said. So this is a huge differences because the internet can educate all people who do not have the opportunity and the possibility to pay, for example, schools, private schools, or in general university, and that can expand their studies by the internet. Yes.
So you know that school, at least in Italy, but in the whole world, we have public schools, and parents not sending their children to schools because they don't have the opportunities isn't a thing that in our world exists. So the government, if they see a children who
Yes,
does
I
not
got
go,
your point. Yes, I got your point, but it's exactly what I'm saying is internet is another way to inform and to educate myself. It's just not the only way. But for example, even if I'm going to school and I still have some flaws in a subject, I can still do my researches on the internet, and that's the point. So you also brought a case where a child doesn't have friends because he only lives in the internet. That could be a rare case, but are we actually prioritize one of these cases that, let's be clear, they are isolated cases rather than prioritize scientific progresses, economic progress, and a lot more. This leads us directly to our second argument. In fact, we strongly believe that regretting internet damages economic empowerment. We can divide this second point in two layers. First of all, people who have an online business without the internet couldn't have their own work. And at the same time, the internet give them the possibility to promote and advertise their business. So without the internet, we couldn't have all this business and advisement of the business, and we will have a lot of less job opportunities. For example, let's think about a young guy that has an incredible idea, but he hasn't the tools, hasn't the opportunity to create his own business and to chase his dream. The internet give him the instruments and the opportunity to create and develop his idea. Totally in a gratis, in a free way, because we don't pay the internet. The final impact is obviously a society, the whole society, no thank you, that benefits from the idea of an individual and becomes better. For example, let's think about the Amazon, that now is one of the biggest multinational that is more in a garage, thank you, a clever mind and a functional computer. So this is an incredible example of how just an idea could be developed, no thank you, could be developed thanks to the internet. Amazon brings us, this example of Amazon brings us to our second layer. In fact, multinationals offers their services on the internet and gives jobs to millions of people thanks to remote works and job of these agencies, such as Amazon drivers. So we go with our third argument. So the internet, the regression of internet damages scientific progress. In fact, thanks to the internet, the scientific research and its entire community are able to share ideas instantaneously and work together in an efficient way. We can see this in many examples, such as a fundamental website called PubMed, that it's an online platform of scientific research in which everybody has access. So this brings two impacts. The internet doesn't gatekeep anything because everybody has the access and everybody can learn and watch. And also criticism is immediate, which leads to a more efficient community. Another important impact that has the internet on the scientific progress is, for example, it can be seen in the COVID-19. In fact, the facility of the creation of COVID-19 vaccinations, in fact, in time records, was created an efficient way to fight these illnesses. This illness, and also in COVID time, where everybody couldn't go to schools, couldn't go to public into public because it was a dangerous situation. Online meetings were the solution, and thanks to the internet, people could continue their studies and their works. So it's obvious that the internet has more positive benefits than negative aspects on our society. And this is why it's really important to prioritize the right use of the internet. Thank you.
Eight minutes and 10 seconds. So thank you, the second speaker of the opposition team, for their nice speech. If the judges are ready, yes. So I'll ask the third speaker of the proposition team to start it.
Good evening. Good. Good evening, judges and fellow debaters. My speech will commence in 3, 2, 1. Okay, so first of all, I want to start with saying the major problem in your speech was that you said that science advanced, correct, with the evolution of internet. And unfortunately, that is not true, because it did not advance. It did not advance with the evolution of internet, but with the evolution of technology. And those are two very distinct things. We have cleared that before. We have said that before, that they are two different things. So that is a very big problem. Also, you said that people had to go to school paying, but in Italy, and as my fellow second speaker said, that school is public, so you don't have to pay, and that is a construct, a thing that is popular in Italy and in many other places. We said so. Then okay. You also talked about something that about a man that could chase his dreams potentially thanks to the internet and building a big business, right? Thanks to the internet. Now, you're right. He can do that with the internet, but he can also still do it without the internet. In fact, many businesses born before the internet, many successful businesses were born before the internet. So even if the internet didn't exist, you could still accept it.
Are you aware that before the internet, a lot of the persons that were successful that you're talking about were persons that had legacies and lots of funds, because without the internet, you need to have lots of funds to open physical stores, etc. You can do it on your own.
Okay, correct. You're right. But that doesn't mean anything. They could still take the sources from, as we mentioned before, encyclopedias, and there were many sources of information, as we said before, encyclopedias, libraries, books, so many successful businesses, brands, anything that was born before the internet and is still successful today. They were born thanks to other sources of information that weren't the internet. Also, she didn't say that before I go back to my before I go back to what I was saying before. The second speaker of the opposition team said that necessarily the first thing that comes up when you search something up is fake. She didn't say that. She said that the first thing that comes up could be fake, but the first thing that comes up is usually AI, which is which sums up all the sources of the information. Now, I want to talk about Amazon, which is a very successful business today. Now, Amazon was born, as we said, with the internet, but it is not something that is necessarily positive, as it first of all, its workers have extremely low wages, almost minimum wages, and they don't get paid at all. The best job they can do is pack something up and send it. And the person at the top of the company gets the most money, so that brings us to a whole new thing. But anyway, the thing is that it's negative. It's a very negative thing, because Amazon, it has a boss that has all the money and workers that have absolutely nothing. Also, before you also mentioned something about the scientific platform, where all scientists reach their public. They publicize their theories and can get review and criticism from the other scientists. Now, this still existed before scientific newspapers, where everybody received different reviews, different criticisms, different opinions. So even if the platform exists now, it doesn't mean anything, because reviews and newspapers still existed. You mentioned also mentioned something about school, where during COVID, we had to use the internet to talk, to do lessons with the internet. But that didn't. You're correct. It did. What's it called? It did make people continue their studies. Correct. But it also made many people, first of all, depressed, not being able to see their friends in person, but only through a screen. And people, and it was a very bad situation, even if internet existed, even if people could communicate through a computer. And yes, so also it is important to say that that science and that the technology and the and internet are two very distinct things, and we've repeated this before, and it is important to get it out of the way, as many of the speakers have repeated it and said that technology, that science was able to go forward through internet, but it was only through the advancement of technology. And it is important also that internet is in the end a very negative aspect of our life, because it has brought to many suicides, or many other terrible things have happened thanks to internet, thanks to bullying, thanks to all these different factors that have been on the internet. And it is a very bad place also for little kids, for people that have access to it, and as it is a very important resource for the community, as it brings us information and all the rest. It is also unfortunately a very negative place. Now, before I end, I'm going to continue with one last rebuttal. I'm going to say that you guys said that the internet gives you often the right answers, but it doesn't really ever do that, because sometimes it can give you wrong or incorrect or wrong answers, which even if it makes you even if you have to do research for school, and you see the first information that pops up and you take it from the internet, it could be wrong, which could lead to negative aspects in school, or also in other places. Thank you.
7 minutes and 44 seconds. Are the judges ready? Okay, so I will ask the last speaker of the opposition team to start their speech.
Okay. So I'm gonna start my speech in 3, 2, 1. Dear panel, we just assisted at the proposition fighting for the world debate at August in which they only considered the worst part of internet, completely ignoring everything that we said as opposition so far, completely ignoring all the benefits and the actual good things that the internet bring to us. Being on the side of proposition is like complaining about the fact that we don't have the access to the right information, and want to tackle down this problem by taking down the most powerful and open source mechanism that we have to provide free information to everyone. The proposition is too blind to actually know that everything that they were proposing to us today, everything that they want to create in our world, is something that is achieved through the internet. And this is clearly gonna be emerged in our last speech, in my third speech. Now, before we move into the two main clash points of this debate, it's very important. No, thank you. It's very important to make a clarification about. I don't have the timer. It's very important to make a clarification about the motion and what we are debating about. Now, there has been a bit of a confusion between the mean of internet and technology and the progress of them. Now, let's be crystal clear on this. If we follow the proposition word, if we fall for their case, we're talking about a world like it was in the 1950, a world where there was no exchange, no major information exchange between scientific communities of two different countries, a world where the news were heavily controlled, and in a moment, please, in a moment, where the news were heavily controlled by only three channel state, and where we didn't have actual free development. Yes, thank you.
So, do you know that universities have been from the 16th century in communication with one another? So, scientific communities, do you know that they have always been communicating? Scientific work has always
Okay,
been.
I understand your point. I understand your point. Thank you very much. What we are talking about, and we can clearly see that with the scientific propagation that has been in our society, is that it was much more difficult back then, because they had to rely, for example, on written messages that were needed to be shipped cross ocean. Do we really think that this is the same capabilities of information exchange that we have right now? Instant information exchange, where researchers from one side of the world are able to share real-time information. And this is what made, for example, as we said, as my speaker said, and you completely ignored it, it made possible the creation of the vaccine for COVID-19, for example. If it was not for the internet and the exchange of information, the instant exchange of informations, the different researchers from the different sides of the world could not collaborate in real time and could not be able to create the vaccine in so much less time and in a so efficient way. Back then, the scientific progress exchange was much more difficult, and in fact, we can see that the progress in science, it was much slower back then, and we wouldn't be able to have all the benefits that we have today if it wasn't for the internet. So what we are telling you is that yes, the technology is not the internet, but it's the internet, the one that makes the researchers from the other side of the world be able to exchange information and to progress the technology much faster. This is what we are talking about. The internet as a free place for everyone to be empowered, for everyone to get access to information, for researchers to share informations, and for people to get empowered. So, what are the two main clash points on this debate? The first clash point that we need to analyze is the capabilities of the people. Now, in the world that the proposition is bringing us today, people are simply stupid. People don't search for more than one results when we search for Google for one thing, and people are not capable of telling a fake news apart from a true news. Well, dear panel, we are here to tell you that this is absolutely wrong for two different reasons. First of all, it is not true that we are not taught on how to use internet, especially in the last 20 years, with the diffusion of internet. Every school in the world has been adopting institution programs to teach their students on how to use the internet. Every school is saying, please look after the scammers, please search for more than one sites, please also check the sources. When you have to do a research for school, they tell you look the sources and try to get from attainable one. Where you search something on Google, you try to get from governative sites or for sites that are controlled by experts on that field. So yes, it's true that there are some fake news in the internet, but it's only the minority of the news that you get into the internet, and most of the people are capable of actually telling them apart. No, thank you. Moreover, on this, people are actually capable of also gaining empower from the internet and everything that we have on from it. Because, as we said in our case, if you are born, for example, myself, I was born in a small rural city in an agricultural place in not in a big city. If I was not born in a big city and there was no internet, the city I was born in person didn't have any library, for example. So where would I get all the information that the proposition is claiming that I will still get? This without the internet is something that is simply not possible, because we don't have the access to informations that we have with the internet. Because if we don't have the internet, only the privileged side of the population is actually getting all the benefits that the proposition is talking about. Where instead, with the internet, we have the possibility to give everyone the same access to the same informations. We actually create a fair system where everyone benefits better from it. And even if you're born from a more poor family that, for example, can afford a book, or maybe in a city that doesn't have a library, you can still get all those informations, which is something that in the proposition case does not exist. In the proposition world, just brings you back to the 90s, where if you weren't born in a big city and in a rich family, you didn't have the same access of information and the same access of knowledge than the other ones. Now, let's get to the second flashpoint, which is the capabilities of the internet. Now, for the proposition team, internet is something that just makes your life easier and actually makes your more lazy. Well, dear panel, we are here to tell you that this is absolutely not true. First of all, what is the point of the world counterfactual that they're bringing us that we get more lazy? Well, dear panel, we still get massive benefits from this, because research, as they said, is more easier. We have easier information access to this, and we have more capabilities from that. So with the internet, we also create a more fair system where everyone can tell their opinion, where everyone can actually know what is happening on the other side of the world, where the free news can be exchanged. For example, someone is in China or in North Korea under a regime where the informations are controlled. If it was not for the internet, they could not clear their position and makes the people of the world know the situation that they are in. It's thanks to the internet that we have a democratic system where everyone is able to fact check their opinions and everyone is able to actually get verified news. So, dear panel, on one side we have a world where everything is only brings us back to the old time. Instead, in our world, we actually have advancement for our society, both on the democratic ways and on the social ways. That's why we've never been proud to oppose. Thank you.
8 minutes and 40 seconds. Are the judges ready? So we have reached the final part of our debate, and now the opposition team can give us their reply speech for 4 minutes.
So, can I start my speech? Okay, so 3, 2, 1. So, a world without the internet is likely a library full of knowledge and empowerment and educational opportunities, an easy way to interact with others, but all locked behind a glass door. So, judges, let me guide you for last time through this debate to show you why we clearly won and why our war is better. In their war, in the proposition team war, they agree that the information given by the internet is free, but they say it's fake. They didn't explain us why, but they said it's false. We in our wall we talk about a scientific and certified website that are accessible from freely from everybody. They are certified because to be published, as scientific papers have to be approved by a council, as we said before, and you can't obviously find medical and scientific papers in an ordinary library. And and this is why internet is an easy way to diffuse informations. Not only information, but important and certificated information. Secondly, from the beginning of the debate, they showed us that they prefer struggle to reach a goal, instead find an easy way to solve their problems. They prioritize a world when it's all difficult, all information difficult to have, instead of a world like our where information is easy to access. It's like a grandfather storytelling that is like, oh, when I went to school at your age, I did 20 kilometers every morning to reach school, and we said, okay, but just now you can take the bus. It's just a better way to live the life, and it's an easy way to have the same results, as we showed in the debate. So our world is an equal and fair world that give everybody the same opportunity, that can share all the knowledge in an easy way, freely, to not and not but divided by social classes. This is why, through our three argumentation, we explain to you why our impacts are bigger, are more important than yours, because our society has more benefits from the use of the internet, instead of a society where everything is creates struggles and do not give the fair possibility to everybody. So because we have shown through our lines that based on 3 points, which I remind you are is the major economic empowerment, is the major scientific progress, and and if give information and education easily for everybody, we can clearly show you that the opposition team has clearly won this debate. Thank you.
Thank you, Viola, for your nice speech. If the judges are ready, I'll give the word to the last speaker of this debate. Are you ready? I think so. Okay, Domitila, you can go. Is it you, right?
Thank you. Okay, so I will begin my speech in 3, 2, 1. Okay, so now I will do the reply speech, and I will try to summarize everything that was said during this debate, trying my best to say what the proposition and the opposition team talked about. So first of all, I'm going to start by what the proposition team said and debated in this debate. So first of all, the first point was the damage of information and education. So the opposition team stated that the internet has helped us and does not regret it, because it actually gives us easy access, and we can actually learn through the internet, and that actually the sources can be found even throughout research, and that even at school we are encouraged to find and to search through what are the most true sources. So we actually can find their sources quickly, and it's actually useful to find them in the quickest way possible. Then they talked about the crucial role of the internet, both for the scientific research and for the major economic empowerment that it has brought since it was invented. First of all, for the scientific research, for example, they talked about websites, which actually are very useful to diffuse the news throughout the scientific community and can help to get information, criticism, or even opinions on scientific topics, which can help research and technology in the making. Then they talked about the fact that we are now in an unequal world, and so the internet makes it accessible to everyone to get information, even when the school is not accessible as it would be for someone, for example, of our social class. Then they talked about the major economic empowerment. So the fact that the internet has helped a lot of small businesses, but also big businesses such as Amazon, which has permitted a lot of people to get money and have a place of work, which maybe they didn't have before. Now I'm going to start to talk about what the proposition team was, so our points. So as we said before, our three theses were information, communication, and safety. Our first thesis was information. So the fact that information is, of course, we know, more accessible than before, so it's more easy, but this doesn't necessarily mean that it is true. In fact, we know that people used to look for things with more dedication. They went to library and they went to encyclopedias, and the research that was done before without the internet is the same that is done now with the internet, because you still have to search, because now it's even more difficult to search, because while before you had to search a long time, but the information that you found was true, now even if you search a lot, you can still find false informations. We also said that information can bring laziness or imprecisiveness, especially in the young people. Then we talked about communication. So we talked about the fact that it is hard to communicate if throughout the internet without seeing people in person. So actually we know that bonds are created strongly when we see people in person and not when we see them through the screen. And especially the third point was safety. So the fact that the internet has created a lot of problems, especially we can talk about cyberbullying, we can talk about pedophilia, we can talk about blackmailers, and we can talk about stalkers. It has made more easy, and it makes predators more accessible to, for example, young kids, which have unlimited access to the internet and to materials which should not be at their site and should not be accessible to them. So we said, as the proposition team, we said that the internet is a very dangerous place. Thank you. I end my speech.
Thank you, everybody. Let's turn on your microphone so we can give us all a big applause. So give us 15 minutes for us judges, and then we will be back here. Okay? Cool. Ciao, ciao.